begin KCAL News at 8 tonight with breaking news, a police pursuit after a stolen vehicle.
Desmond Shaw is live right now in SkyCal, and Mike Rogers is on the desk tracking this for us. Let's start with Desmond in SkyCal. Des?
Yes, so here we are, Chauncey and Susie, southbound 405 as we make our way out of the South Bay and towards the city of Carson. It is now CHP that is in pursuit of this allegedly stolen Toyota Tundra. We believe it's this full-size pickup truck right here. Started kind of on the west side, kind of on the border of Culver City off the 10 freeway, actually just north of the 10 off of Cadillac Avenue. All this happened pretty recently, within the last half hour. Apparently, it was there was a struggle that ensued. Someone was carjacked. They tried to fight off the suspects. They were actually on the phone with 911 as it was happening, but unfortunately, the suspects were able to wrestle the vehicle away from the victim. And here we go. So may have multiple people in the car. They said carjacking suspects, plural. Haven't been able to verify how many people are in the vehicle, but LAPD was able to catch up with that vehicle pretty quickly. Then we went southbound on the 110 through South LA, and then once we got pretty well established on the freeway, LAPD asked CHP to take over, and that is where we're at. So this is now a CHP pursuit that began with LAPD as we make our way towards Long Beach southbound on the 405. Chauncey, Susie, Mike.
Let's go to assignment editor Mike Rogers at the desk for some more information. Mike?
Yeah, so here's how this all came out. We were actually listening to the radio traffic. This was officers from Wilshire Division that responded to that block on Cadillac Avenue. And the way this worked out is a witness was calling 911 saying, hey, it looks like these guys are trying to take this truck. The victim and the suspects are fighting in an alley here. So LAPD was initially responding to that for an attempted carjacking. And then as LAPD was responding, the witness called back and said they got the car, they took off. They were able to be so close in the area, those officers were able to get right behind it and follow the suspect and try to get them to pull over, and they didn't. Here's the other thing with this. The suspect is a named suspect. LAPD knows the name of the suspect. Not from the victim, interestingly enough, but the witness. The witness who called 911 said, hey, this is so-and-so. They are not known to the victim. So the victim who had their truck stolen has no idea who these people are, but a witness who saw it does know who they are, and we're able to give that name to the LAPD. So the LAPD, very interesting, right? So the LAPD knows who this person is, but not from the victim. Usually, 9 times out of 10, when we see carjackings like this or those kinds of situations, it's a domestic or it's something between two people who know each other. In this situation, the two people do not appear to have known each other, but a third party did know who the suspects were and were able to relay that to LAPD.
So this caller or the witness was just randomly able to see this happening and said, hey, I think they're about to try to take this.
And hey, I think I know this person?
Right, yeah, and who knows if there was some sort of altercation or something with this suspect prior to that, and this witness had already had their eyes on them. That's kind of the gist I was getting at. I also heard a William unit out at the scene, so there are already detectives with the victim talking to that victim. So that's how the information got relayed. The detective let communications know, hey, the victim and suspect don't know each other, but a witness does.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting set of circumstances here. Apparently the witness, as Mike was just talking about, the witness who was reporting this to police and giving them descriptions of what was happening, they actually witnessed some sort of altercation between the victim of the carjacking, as we know, and the person who is now driving this car who allegedly stole it. Mike, any word on how many people are inside this car?
We've heard multiple. They've kind of not really locked down exactly how many. We heard potentially 3, but that number seems to be a little bit fluid. LAPD doesn't generally seem to have a good grip on how many other than more than one. Now we're dealing with CHP, who has taken it over, so they're doing their thing. LAPD, interesting enough, had wanted to do a pit maneuver. The watch commander denied the pit maneuver due to the high-profile nature of the truck. They were worried that it would flip. The other thing that's pretty distinctive about this truck is it looks like it has its own kind of grill or version, a civilian version of a push bar on the front of it as well. So that's kind of interesting too.
And Mike, this seems like it was kind of violent in the beginning. You talked about one of the victims and the suspects fighting during this carjacking.
Right, and we don't know if they were armed, right? That's what we've been listening. I did at one point hear communications, LAPD dispatcher ask the unit if there was a weapon involved, and there wasn't a kind of a clear answer, or not at least one that I heard of a response on that. So that's unclear. Certainly we know that the victim is not injured of the carjacking. We know that person didn't get hurt. They were trying to fight off and fend for their property here when all this went down.
Yeah, oftentimes we'll see when they are armed that law enforcement officials will want to go after them and get them because they do pose a possible danger to the public with a weapon, whether it is, you know, pointed at that person or pointed at the public or not. But at this point, we don't know, but it might seem that they are armed just because of the fact that maybe, I mean, it could have been they took it by force. Who knows?
And there's a couple indicators when we deal with the LAPD. LAPD has a set guidelines of if you're chasing a car for this, you can't go into tracking because of the nature of the crime. And I don't know, again, if this person is armed or not, but LAPD has never wanted to go into tracking. They've never asked to go into tracking. They have been with it the whole time. And then eventually, once we really got away from, you know, Wilshire Division is kind of mid-Wilshire, mid-city, Pico Robertson, that area. Once we got into the Carson area, the LAPD was like, all right, let's have CHP take this over. We're kind of far away from our division, and now CHP is taking it over. By the way, CHP did try to set up a spike strip already on the 91 freeway before they even had control of the pursuit. They tried to set up a spike at the 91. We don't believe that was successful at all.
Interesting. You know, we had a pursuit last week where the LAPD did not want to relinquish it all the way down clear to Orange County in Santa Ana. So this is one that they're definitely letting the CHP take over. And we always talk about why they might want to do that. Well, agencies have different means and modes of communication. And when they're on different frequencies, it's different, or it's difficult to relay information such as where the suspect is going, where they're headed, different things that the chopper might be able to relay down to the ground units below. But in this case, it looks like the CHP is taking over. And is the CHP above it as well, or is it still the LAPD chopper, Mike?
Des, I think it's LAPD still, right, Des?
I believe so, yeah. I see the black and white markings that are similar to the cruisers there. It does look like LAPD that is still on this one. So CHP will most likely be having their helicopter come in, actually going kind of towards where they're based out of Fullerton Airport. So it'll be a pretty short jump for them to come and pick up on this one. So we'll see if we hear them on the common frequency.
I actually
up here
do,
at some
Des,
point.
see them coming. They're actually coming from the, sorry, Des, they were coming from the north. They were doing something up in the valley. So they're actually making their way. They're coming through Southgate, Linwood area right now.
Oh, yeah, kind of unfortunate there. We're actually kind of headed down towards them, that they just happen to be up kind of where we're based. So they're playing a little bit of catch up right now. But the good news for them, and kind of one thing I've just found peculiar, especially considering, you know, what sounded like the violent nature of this call, is that we're not going very fast at all. We're not even at the speed limit. We've been down around, actually look right now, maybe 45, maybe 50 miles an hour. Not very fast at all. A lot of times when you have you know, something like this, like a carjacking, we see these people drive like total lunatics out there. And that is not the case so far. We've barely seen any lane switching. Dare I say, I even saw a turn signal earlier. Always kind of weird when you see that in a pursuit. And the suspect just kind of casually, I noticed, like, we'll double in right here, and he's got one arm on the steering wheel, and I'm pretty sure he's been on the phone the entire time. So talking to someone on the phone.
Looks a little agitated.
Wish we knew who that was right now. But yeah, it looks a little bit agitated right now. Might be wearing a tank top right now. I think maybe a shaved head. We're getting a couple of details here with this suspect right now as we really double in for a second. And not giving us too much more there. So we'll widen back out a little bit for a better picture. And yeah, so we are now well into Long Beach. We're pretty close parallel to Long Beach State University, getting ready to pass by Long Beach Airport as well. So where are we headed? I mean, we've already covered quite a bit of distance off of the 10 near Robertson, I believe, is close to where this pursuit started. And came eastbound on the 10. And, you know, fortunately for this suspect anyway, traffic has been really light. Memorial Day traffic, most of the traffic kind of is coming back from the far-fledged destinations of the weekend, like Vegas or San Francisco or something like that. So around town traffic's been pretty easy today, and it certainly has been for the suspect as we make our way towards Orange County.
Yeah, certainly not high rates of speed here. And I did see him use a turn signal. Mike Rogers, back to you at the desk. Do you have some more information? Yeah,
so CHP had the same question we did on whether or not these guys were armed. So they just clarified with the LAPD. The LAPD says they are not armed. The weapon used was, they call it weapon used, but was force, bodily force, to overtake the victim and get the truck. So a bit of good news that they do not appear to be armed at this point. CHP just clarifying that with the LAPD. CHP also getting word that, you know, we had, is that the LAPD knows who this person is. So LAPD is trying to verify. A lot of the times what we see with CHP, and I got to be honest, not necessarily, at least on the radio side with some of the other agencies, but CHP really likes to know who they're chasing so they can try to run an address. Where does this person live? Can we get a unit over there? CHP is very proactive in sending people to the suspect's house in case they double back there during the incident. Yeah, absolutely. During the chase to either try to get a family member who knows this person or be there in case the suspect wants to go home.
Yeah, and speaking of someone this person might actually know, the driver, Mike was just talking about how in this entire situation there was some sort of altercation between the victim and the suspect or suspects who are inside this car right now, who allegedly carjacked them. And the witness is the one who called in to police and said, I know this person. So I wonder, we were just wondering just a minute ago who this person in the driver's seat might have been talking to, perhaps on the cell phone. Perhaps it was someone who knows that person. We actually, like Mike was saying, this is a named individual, so the CHP knows who this person is, the person who was driving this car and who was involved in this alleged carjacking. So who knows? They might be headed somewhere where they actually know. They might actually be headed to a familiar place, but oftentimes, we see them going back to a familiar place so that they can, go on surface streets and know their way around the neighborhood. But it looks like they're going south right now. Right,
and it's super interesting because, in theory, right, the witness knew who the victim was. So you would think that the witness maybe lives in that area or something like that. So now we are so far away from where this all transpired. Does the suspect have any idea where they're going? I mean, they just grabbed a freeway and kind of got on the 10 east and then 110 south, and they've just followed it all the way down to the 405. Now, as we enter into Orange County, the Orange County CHP units are getting into place to take over. So you wonder, are they going home? Were they already closer to home where this started since that witness knew them? Kind of what's the deal?
Yeah.
And Mike, you said at one point that witness was actually on the phone with 911 while witnessing this carjacking.
Yeah, that's how when I went back and listened to the radio traffic, LAPD had gotten the call of an attempted carjacking. This woman said, or I shouldn't say woman, this person said, this two people are fighting and it looks like they're trying to take over the car, and then called back, and officers who were on their way got more information that said the RP reporting party called back and said the suspects have gotten in the car and have left. And then they gave them a direction of travel, and the units were close enough that they were able to spot the car as it was leaving, got into what's called a following, which is the precursor for a pursuit, tried to pull the truck over, it didn't stop, and here we are.
Yeah. Let's go back upstairs to Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal now. Desmond, we've made quite the way from where we were initially. Where are we now? In Orange County already?
We are now in Orange County. We're just crossing over the border now as we came south of the 605. We are coming past the 22 freeway, or we will be shortly, I should say. So we are definitely into Orange County now at this point. And again, you just the speeds here really, nothing super crazy. This guy's almost just kind of driving along as if he's ignoring the law enforcement that is right behind him right now. Actually, looking out the window and looking at what looks like a CHP motorcycle unit that maybe they might be the ones that are going to be running kind of the round-robin sort of traffic break to keep traffic away from the suspect right now. We'll see. I'm just kind of looking at that out the window right now. So, where are we headed? I'm kind of getting the impression, since the suspect is not making any serious attempt to get away from the authorities, we're just kind of buying time. I mean, they've been on the phone the entire time, and it makes me think that there may be some two-way communication happening between the suspect and law enforcement, or them and someone else affiliated with this whole situation. We've seen that many times, especially when these suspects are on the phone the whole time. It's like they're just trying to buy some time. If they're telling their side of the story about something, who knows? But just based on experience, that's kind of the impression that we're getting. So, does this person live in Orange County? I mean, that's where we're headed for sure. I mean, we're actually already in Orange County. So actually, it looks like we're going to be, southbound 405, which is good news for us, because if we would have gone 22, we could have run into some issues with Disneyland's airspace. But, well, we might have some other issues with John Wayne. We'll see. Sometimes they can be kind of finicky to deal with as we branch away from the 22, continue southbound 405, making our way into Westminster and Huntington Beach.
And you can see those wide open freeways, especially when you get down to Orange County on the 405. I mean, you can see those units behind this person, but really bare freeways as it is.
Yeah.
You know, the 405 freeway is rarely this way.
And you know, it's interesting, I think Des mentioned it, they're probably running a traffic brake back there to keep the cars, you know, away here, because he's not going fast enough to keep up with the flow of traffic. So
there's no way.
They're probably running, as Des gives us a wide shot there, I bet you there's a unit right in the back that's running a traffic brake pretty far behind, actually. Yeah, there's that motorcycle Des was talking about, running the traffic brake. But regardless, even when before this, the traffic brake was initiated when LAPD was chasing the guy, still freeway speeds. I mean, the airship kept saying, maintaining the flow of traffic, maintaining the flow of traffic, which, you know, to Desmond's point, there are people that desperately want to get away, and there are people that just kind of drive. Yeah, by time, as you mentioned.
And we haven't seen him go at high rates of speed, the suspect, the driver, and also using turn signals at some point. Desmond, I think you also pointed that out at one point during this pursuit, and he's, as the suspect or as his driver was changing lanes, using those turn signals.
Yeah, it's always kind of a silly thing. Oh, we had a unit that was right there. Actually, I'm not sure if they tried a spike strip attempt there, maybe under the bridge. I didn't see anything, haven't heard anything about a spike strip attempt, but we'll see if anything like that happened. But yeah, it's always a funny thing. It's like, are they trying to buy brownie points or something by using their turn signal and thinking, I don't know, that's going to get them off more lenient, you know, once they're in handcuffs? It's always kind of a funny thing.
Des, really quick, I'm sorry, we just heard on
the thing that you need to be doing.
Sorry, Des, I just wanted to tell you, we heard on the radio that was a spike strip attempt, and there was a successful spike.
Gotcha. And Mike, that was the second one.
All right, there you go.
That you talked about. You talked about one.
They
earlier,
tried one at the 91 that didn't. I don't think they got it set up in time. But it sounds like this one they did. And we were just hearing Angelina on our desk was just telling me. It sounds like they got a good spike.
And it looks like they're in a pretty good position too. As you can see, they're on the right side of the freeway, and we often talk about when the CHP has to pull those out, they're like accordions, and when they pull them out, the spike strips, they throw them out into the roadway, and then they have to pull it back after the car goes over them. So they have to be positioned in an area where they do believe that car is going to run over them. So as soon as they see some sort of pattern, which in this case, a very opportune moment there, as they're not going very fast at freeway speeds, obviously, and they were on the right side, way right side, so they were able to use that, those two opportunities, and do a successful spike strip. But we'll see if those effects happen anytime soon. But as we say, you know, it's like a straw being inserted or poked into that tire. The air is going to come out very slowly, not fast.
But Susie, you're talking about the opportune time and the opportune place right there on the right. Mike, we didn't even see it until after the truck is not going fast. We didn't even see it until after.
Yeah, and that's the goal. You know, they want to try to be out of the way, not only for their safety, but to surprise the suspect so that they don't see them doing it.
Yeah, definitely. These speeds are what is giving them that opportunity to do so. And oftentimes, as Desmond knows very well, we see them, these officers, do this really fast and get out of the way. And oftentimes we can see them because they have to do it so quickly, obviously. But you know, that was really, I mean, that was slick because we didn't see anything.
And not only that, the truck was in the right location and on the right side. Desmond, going back up to you, as we just watched this suspect just drive it out here on the freeway.
Yeah, and you can see now where it was successful. It looks like it's the front passenger side that is they got hit. Maybe both of the passenger side, both front and rear. Yeah, yeah, they both look like they're pretty low. So it looks like they are slowly deflating. And this was really a perfect just situation for CHP to run out there with the spikes, because you know they're not driving super crazy, but you know pretty much at a very consistent speed. And we'll work our way back over towards the other side here as we have a little bit of an obstacle there. Pilot Jeff, thank you. Yeah, they've been kind of in the right lane the whole time, and now we're getting off the freeway as the tires are really starting to struggle here. So we'll see where we end up as we get off at Beach Boulevard, one of the busiest boulevards here in Orange County. There's definitely some traffic out there. We're off the off-ramp, and maybe the writing is on the wall for this suspect now. I mean, they've got to be feeling that their tires are flat. We'll see how far they want to take this. As we know, just because the tires are flat does not mean this is necessarily the end, and you know, especially with these trucks. I mean, but we are slowing down to a crawl, almost off completely, and almost off of the road. So
and Desmond, those ground units right behind them,
Let's
right?
See, yeah. right behind him here
Okay.
as we will drop the speedometer there. And let's see what the next step is. Hands are out, making it look like he's going to surrender. So maybe that was all it took, was some perfectly placed spike strips, and hopefully we will be at the end of this off of Beach Boulevard and the 405.
And Mike, we were talking about this earlier. We don't know exactly how many suspects are in this truck.
No, we've kept hearing multiple. We heard at 1.3,
Maybe
so
3.
we'll have to see how many end up getting out. You know, it is a little bit, I think that back window might be a little bit dark, and you know, it's unclear how many, you know, what the witness saw, how many people they said. But, you know, LAPD was concerned enough that there were multiple people in here that during their pursuit, they asked for additional units for post-pursuit tactics is what they call it, just to have enough officers to deal with all the people that could potentially be inside.
And then I wonder at that point if they knew that they were not armed.
Yeah, I mean, again, we didn't get a clear answer on that from LAPD when they were chasing it.
Yeah.
Clearly, they knew that because they were able to relay that information over to the CHP. So, yeah, I mean, that was the good news because it gives them a little bit more opportunities. You know, as soon as we start seeing suspects that are armed, all of a sudden we see them not wanting to do pit maneuvers, not wanting to do spike strips because you don't want to put officers in that situation. But the good news is the driver door looks like it's open now, right, Des?
Yep, door is opening. There's definitely been some chatter here from this suspect towards the officers while they, you know, no doubt call out and just tell him to come out and comply. But it looks like he definitely had a mouthful there for the officers. Still continuing to talk. Might be shirtless, I don't know, or I thought maybe they were wearing a tank top. We're going to find out here momentarily. But both hands out the window. That is the good news as we maneuver around a little bit here. We'll see if there is anyone else in this vehicle because it's not looking like it from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Can't see into the rear seats too well yet, but the suspect, well, they got their hands out, but they're definitely not following all the directions quite yet.
Yeah, so it looks like the CHP officers have their guns drawn and trained at this person right now as they are giving those orders for the person to put their hands up and slowly walk backwards towards them after they toss their keys out of the window. It looks like they are cooperating so far, although I don't know where they are in their instructions. But as Desmond was talking about, we're wondering if anyone else is inside this car, inside the cab of this truck possibly. We had heard that maybe up to 3 people are in this car, but that information was kind of go back and forth, so we have not been able to confirm that. What we do know is that this all started with some sort of altercation in an alleyway, as a witness was telling police. 2 people, or at least the person who was doing the carjacking, alleged carjacking, and the person who was the victim of the carjacking, got into some sort of altercation. The car was taken by force, not by someone being armed. That's what we know so far. This person is not armed as far as we know. And it looks like they are still putting their hands out according to those orders. We'll see what happens, though, as they make their way to the officers here in just a minute.
And, you know, oh, sorry, Chauncey. The longer the guy doesn't get out of the car, the longer or the more it makes you wonder, is this going to be a situation where they refuse to get out of the car? Because certainly by now, there are enough CHP officers, they are in place, they have told him to get out of the car. So we're at a point now where if he's not gotten out of the car, it's most likely because he is choosing not to.
And it's very interesting because I've only seen one person in the truck or make any maneuvers or gestures inside of this truck. But another interesting point that we talked about earlier is this person, this witness who watched this alleged carjacking go down and called 911 and was on the phone with police. But not only that, named this alleged carjacking suspect who we're just waiting on now as police are giving him those orders.
And really quick, you guys, while we wait on that, I did clip some of the video from the spike strip that I want to show you here, where you see the car come under the freeway, and then the CHP officers got that set of spike strips right there. I think we're going to look at that video here in just a second, but right under the bridge of the freeway, and it did see like the front right and rear right tires are what rolled over that spike strip, which is ultimately what thankfully was able to bring it to an end. And with this guy didn't, you know, continuously drive on the rims. And I think we're working on that video still, but we'll get it when we have it. But it was just right there under the bridge.
Yeah, just amazing precision. And as we were talking about the opportune moment for CHP officers to do so, because on the freeway, we don't see that happen often because of freeway speeds. But in this case, this driver was not driving that very fast.
Right.
I mean, really.
And because, you know, when they're going slower, it actually gives them a better opportunity to avoid it. Here's the video on the right side of your screen, and you'll see the spike right there. That's where he was able to kind of roll right over it, and how quickly they pulled it away. They very, very quickly were able to pull it away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you know, and again, 9 times out of 10, when the driver's going this slow, they see it and swerve. But it goes back to what Desmond was talking about. Is this person even trying to get away? What's their kind of motivation, especially now that they're not even getting out of the car?
Sure, and maybe it was too late at that point. You know, even if they were driving very slowly, the CHP officer was hidden pretty well, as you see on the right side of your screen, just underneath that overpass. And so, you know, by the time they got there, maybe they didn't have that opportunity to swerve or get out of the way, or maybe they didn't think to do so. But it looks like those spike strip, as Mike was talking about, did bring this to an end, at least the pursuit portion of it. And now comes the part where we're waiting for the suspect to get out of the car. They have probably heard these orders multiple times by now, but it looks like they do have their hands up, but that's it at this point.
Desmond, and it looks like that this suspect has also made some maneuvers more to get out of this truck, and this hand wave that he keeps doing, and it looks like he's also talking back to those officers behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what the holdup here is. There's really no excuse unless there's, you know, some kind of language barrier or something like that. But they're kind of moving like at the speed of a tree sloth right now. I mean, it's very simple to just get out and walk backwards, put your shirt up so we can see that there's nothing in your waistband, and get in the handcuffs. I mean, the longer we draw this out, the longer that the suspect is risking getting pelted by pepper balls or something like that, and they're almost certainly going to be in handcuffs one way or another. So it's really just kind of drawing this out for no reason. We've had the hands up the entire time. Looking back, talking at the officers, just, you know, I don't know what they're waiting for, but if he thinks that he can say something, some kind of magic word that's going to make them all disappear or something, I don't know, but it's definitely kind of a weird thing to see, guys.
All right, Desmond, thank you. We're going to keep a close eye on this. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Des. We're going to...
All right, let's go back now to our breaking news, the end of a pursuit in Orange County.
Desmond Shaw is live right now at Sky Cal, and Mike Rogers is on the desk. He's been following this for us as well. What's the very latest? It seemed like this alleged carjacking suspect has been taken into custody, Des.
Yes, Chauncey and Susie, it is officially over here. We have the code 4 all clear. Here is the suspect on the back of the vehicle. You know, CHP, kudos to them. If they have any kind of relative certainty that this suspect is not armed and dangerous, they will eventually just approach the vehicle and yank them out. And that is exactly what they did. A small cadre of them walked up with a ballistic shield and their weapons, and they just came up and yanked him out. It almost kind of looked like that's what he was waiting for. He was waiting for them to come and get him physically out of the car. And so they did just that. There was no further resistance. Maybe a little bit here as he's up against the vehicle, kind of writhing a little bit. I'm sure plenty of words being exchanged. But that was indeed the only suspect that was in the car. They are now in jail, and hopefully we will see lanes of the southbound 405 Beach Boulevard off-ramp reopen soon. Chauncey and Susie.
All right, Des, thank you.
To the helicopter now to be able to take that pursuit. This is sheriff's deputies from the Carson-Compton area that are chasing this car. And Chauncey and Susie, I'll toss it back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike. There we go. We want to go right up to Desmond. Desmond, where did we pick this up? We're over the scene of this chase that's pretty slow, Susie. Yeah. Truck not going pretty fast on this neighborhood.
Yeah, it is another one of these kind of slower ones so far. In fact, we heard speeds as low as 10 miles an hour at one point. Reckless DUI with LA County Sheriff's deputies from the Carson-Compton station. So in one of those two areas is where this began. And, you know, sometimes with the sheriffs, sometimes they let these things go. Other times they want to shut it down pretty quick. We heard that they were authorized for a pit maneuver. So we'll see if they want to come in and do that quickly. We're Long Beach Boulevard here. So crossing over the LA River, kind of looping back around to where we've heard around Atlantic, Artesia, so we're right by the 710, or they're crossing over it in the LA River right now. Right through that red light, not very fast, fortunately. You know, let's drop the speedometer because it seems to be a little bit inaccurate at the moment, but not very high speeds. We were here maybe 40, might be speeding up a little bit now. We'll see how sheriff's deputies want to handle this, but the pit maneuver was in the offering there if they want to take that chance. Chauncey, Susie, Mike.
Well, you know, it'd be curious to see if they do actually do the pit. You know, we talk about these high-profile vehicles and pickup trucks, but it looks like this is a smaller pickup truck than what we were looking at in the chase at the top of the 8 o'clock.
Right, and I just wanted to point something out. You saw that sheriff's deputy pass the other 2 cars. So unlike LAPD, every officer is trained in pit maneuvers. The sheriff's department, that's not the case.
That's right.
They have pit-trained deputies, and there was one that said, I'm going to join the chase. I would believe that this is the deputy that just took the lead position is probably the one that's the pit-trained deputy, because generally whoever is the lead and sticks with it. But look, now he's kind of tailing the bumper here, so I bet that's the pit-trained deputy that's going to come in and try to conduct the pit maneuver.
I think you're right, Mike, and it looks like they're getting pretty close to this car right now, trying to get to that rear quarter panel so they can turn it around. But as you can see, there are other cars around. They do have to factor in many things when they are going to do the pit maneuver. Let's go back upstairs to Desmond Shaw live in SkyCal. Looks like we are picking up a little bit of speed here on the surface streets, Desmond.
Yeah, a little bit, definitely here as the officer comes in pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
Are they going to really do it here as we're accelerating? Let's see. They're definitely looking for the right opportunity, it looks like here. But as the sheriff kind of comes up on the bumper, it looks like it kind of spooks the suspect out, and they accelerate a little bit. They've got to be careful. I mean, this is not a super wide street here along this section of Long Beach Boulevard. Lots of parked cars. Could have some people out here walking around. So they're going to wait for what they anticipate is the perfect opportunity if they are indeed going to take that tack to bring this to an end. So we'll just kind of have to see. But you see, even though it is kind of like Memorial Day, there's still plenty of people that are out here, and they don't want to get anyone innocent involved in this and try to avoid. But here, coming in for maybe, let's see, a little bit. Boy, really,
that's the
just
closest
kind
we've seen them
of a little, are they or aren't they?
Yeah.
This situation here, yeah. So, just yeah, and then you just want to you want to set it up so that you know how the car is going to react, and that hopefully it's not going to cause any property damage for, a totally innocent person on this. But they are right there. Certainly seems like they are waiting for the opportunity to come in with a pit maneuver. So we'll just see what happens here in the next couple of moments.
Really quick, you guys, we had heard that the suspect was throwing things out of the car as the officer or the deputies were behind him. They had a deputy go back and figure out what that was, and we just heard it was methamphetamine that was being tossed out of the car. So
wow.
Now we've got that as well. And Des, are we entering, is this an on-ramp now?
Let's see where we're headed. No, we're still kind of in a neighborhood right now. Yeah, just kind of a little loosey-goosey here between the suspect and sheriff's deputies if they actually want to do this or not. Now we're on a really narrow street. Something else might have just got thrown out there. I thought I saw it looked like maybe something else being thrown. So there you go. The suspect throwing some, possibly some bad stuff out the window as well. Definitely getting more complicated by the second for the suspect, and it just seems like sheriffs are just kind of
itching,
salivating at the perfect opportunity to pull a pit maneuver.
And you talked about Mike. You talked about that pit-trained deputy, and you have to have that here because this road is very narrow.
Yeah, I would be surprised if we see it here. There's just too many cars. It's one lane in each direction.
Yeah.
I would be kind of surprised that when he had that open, that 2-lane street or 3-lane street. That was a better opportunity, and he definitely tried and definitely wanted to. But yeah, you have the pit-trained deputies because not that long ago, the sheriff's department actually, by policy, was forbidden from doing pit maneuvers at all, period.
They brought it in when Sheriff Alex Villanueva took over again. Before that, they weren't doing them.
Right, he reversed that policy, and then they started training deputies up on how to do the pit maneuvers, and so now they have pit-trained deputies to be able to come in and do these, which, again, a maneuver that the sheriff's department has only been doing really, I guess, for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe, Susie?
And I believe only some of the cars actually have the front rim, or what do you call
push
that?
bars.
The push bars.
So it's interesting.
To actually do them.
Most LAPD cars don't have push bars, and they'll still do pit maneuvers.
Correct.
But LASD does have the push bars on the front of theirs.
So, Mike, we'll see what we saw tonight is that trained officer go by and say, hey.
Yeah, so they'll get in position. They'll take over as the primary deputy that is in pursuit here. You always have a primary, secondary, third and fourth, however many they want in the pursuit. And generally that doesn't change unless there's an issue with a car or they switch jurisdictions or something like that. But the fact that we saw the sheriff's deputy come up and take that lead role, and the way he's been right at the tail of the car would lead me to believe that this is the pit-trained deputy and they're just waiting for their opportunity.
Yeah, but as we've been talking about and hearing and seeing many things being thrown out of the car, we have confirmed that methamphetamine drugs have been thrown out of this car. And this car, the original one, is reckless DUI. So right now, you wouldn't think that that is the actual want. This person driving so slowly now, slower than we've ever seen, actually. Throughout this course of this pursuit, but really, them going this slowly, definitely not giving officers or deputies any opportunities to do that pit maneuver as they were planning to do. At least it looked like it many times throughout this course, the course of this pursuit. But it looks like they're parking now.
lot.
Yeah, I was about to ask
an
Des, is
apartment
this a
complex or
parking
something,
lot?
or a park.
Yeah, and look at that, just like that. We're out. Something else. Something else falling out there, looks like, and we've got the hands up like they're gonna surrender. So two slow speed pursuits, not too far away from each other. One a carjacking suspect, another a reckless DUI was the suspicion here, and looks like they just kind of wanted to buy some time, throw some stuff out the window, which the police were privy to, or the deputies, I should say, and the door's open. We saw hands briefly. Let's see if this suspect comes out more quickly than that last suspect did.
Yeah, it looks like that door opened right away, just as soon as they stopped. Maybe they thought about maybe making a run for it, but soon learned that the officers or the deputies were right behind them. But it looks like they are staying in the car for now, as the deputies are no doubt giving the orders out to put their hands up and walk slowly towards them, walking backwards, and then showing their waistband as well to make sure that they're not armed. But it looks like so far they're staying in that car.
This is almost like deja vu, Mike. I was going to ask Desmond, what is this place? We know it's a parking lot. Is this is it a complex? I see a lot of cars there. Is it a complex? Is this a church? What is this place?
An apartment complex.
Yeah, it looks like just an apartment complex. Maybe that's like the community common room or something like that. Is what that appears to be. So not a commercial area or anything like that. Sometimes we see these suspects get out, want to run into a Home Depot. We saw somebody try to run into John Wayne Airport the other day. That didn't work out. But this one here, again, it looked like not a very serious attempt to get away. And now we are out of the vehicle. So already doing a better job than that last suspect. And looks like we will be code 4 here shortly, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Des. We're going to keep an eye on this. Looks like this suspect is going to be surrendering to police, and we'll bring you the very latest if something else happens.
All right.